Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. It's been a while since we've had any Age of Empires 4 content on the channel, but next week it's getting its largest DLC since 2023, and I have some early access, so we can take a look. It's called Dynasties of the East, and adds new variant civilizations for Byzantines, Japanese, Delhi, and Mongols. Variants in AoE4 keep some of the core bonuses and most of the voices, architecture, music, etc. of an existing civilization, but then add or take mechanics in a slightly different direction. For this video, we'll do a quick summary hitting the highlights of all 4 new variant civs, and then take a look at a new game mode this DLC introduces instead of adding a historical campaign. We'll jump right in with the Macedonian Dynasty, which is the new variant of Byzantines. The core Byzantine civilization uses cisterns, aqueducts, and a special 5th resource, olive oil, for mercenaries, but that's all replaced with silver as a different 5th resource for the new variant, which you get from mining gold or stone at a 5:2 ratio. The other major break with Byzantines is, instead of mercenaries, the Macedonian dynasty revolves around Nordic-themed Varangian units, with 3 buildings in that vein. First is the Varangian Arsenal, which replaces your blacksmith and university. Hex inside of this building costs silver, which you get passively while collecting gold and stone you were going to get anyway. The next building is the Varangian Stronghold, which replaces your barracks, and in addition to normal barracks things, lets you train a basic archer and knightline, or at least a Nordic-themed equivalent. In addition to the convenience of that one building being almost a one-stop shop, these units also have special abilities you can activate while fighting. One particularly with a Nordic theme is the runestone ability these have to place stones on the ground and pump up your unit's damage and speed for a short amount of time. A third notable building is in the Varangian War Camp, which basically recycles your troops. You select what you want it to produce, including naval units if you place it beside water, and as you lose units, you get one free one from this building when you've lost 6 times that unit's value on the battlefield. Of course, in addition to all these Varangian units, you still have your regular crossbow and horseman line at the archer range and stable, but I get the sense the civ is a way to indirectly give players a Nordic civ without having to create an entirely new architecture set for them. That said, there are still Byzantine elements here, for example the Roman and Greek fire techs, making your siege leave patches of fire with each shot. In terms of landmarks, going up to Feudal Age, you can pick between an economic building that helps your farming and works as a monastery, versus the Hippodrome, which works as a free stable and gives you access to higher tier cavalry units. Going up then to Castle Age, you have a choice of an economic building that gives charges for other buildings to work faster, versus a defensive tower that creates free crossbowmen periodically. Imperial Age then gives you a choice of creating batches of higher tier elite cataphracts by paying silver, or a building to recruit other civilizations' siege units. They're classified as a 1-star civ out of 3 for difficulty, and have a Varangian, silver, and technology focus. The barracks replacement, having an archer and a cavalry unit, definitely streamlines things to some degree, though considering the unit abilities you have to micro and the 5th resource to manage, there's still some extra mechanics you have to get used to. If you've been calling for a Norse civ, but still want to mix in some cataphracts or mercenary units for the late game, then the civ might be for you. Moving on, we have the Sengoku Daimyo as a variant for the Japanese. This is the only 3-star difficulty civ being added, which I think comes down to 2 complicated mechanics that I'll try to highlight briefly. This civ actually departs a fair bit from regular Japanese, dropping the Bannerman and Town Center upgrade focus, and instead you have what are called daimyo estates. To represent this period's feudal warring between clans, you have 3 options of clans here, with a focus of infantry, archers, and cavalry, and have to pick 2, which you select by building that clan's estate. You level up the clan for each of their estates you build, but can only have one clan reach level 3 and the other up to level 2, with the third then being locked out. These estates increase the production speed of nearby military buildings, create daimyos that act as a commander unit with an aura, and then the clan level adds its own bonus on top. For example, having 3 estates for the infantry clan lets infantry created from barracks beside those estates have deflective armor that can periodically block incoming attacks. Regular Japanese of course get that for all their samurai, but you have to work a bit for the clan bonuses and plan out your buildings to maximize things, hence the 3-star difficulty. Though when in doubt, just put your buildings close together and spam a bit of everything. Your economy then mercifully keeps things pretty simple at first, giving you the farmhouse, which works as a house and mill together, as well as the forge, which works as your gold and stone drop-off point, in addition to being your blacksmith. You also get the hunt collection tech for free, and can also see the location of deer and boar on the map from the start of the game, which becomes even more relevant when we get to their second unique mechanic, the Matsuri and Yatai. Again, broad strokes, the way this works is your market is also a universal resource drop-off point, so you can put it between a gold or stone pile and a wood line. You then train Yatai food cards, and you place these beside natural sources of food, where it'll start passively generating food for you without using it up on the map, a bit like a shrine in Age of Empires 3. Here, I'm getting 50 food per minute from 7 deer and a sheep in range without using those up, though you are limited to just 3 of these, plus 1 per age up, so you can't completely cover the map, and you also can't double them up on the same location. After a few minutes, your Yatai then sends a trader back to the market that drops off more food, plus levels up the market, giving nearby villagers a collection boost. Basically, use markets as drop-off points and put your passive resource carts on deer or boar, and they'll do the rest. While you can see a lot of synergy here with knowing the location of hunt from the start of the game. Other than that, a few other notable things are your monks are more combat focused and heal nearby friendly units only while they're fighting, so they're good to mix in, but they can't heal in between fights. The crossbow line is then replaced by the Ashigaru, which are a mix of a hand cannon and crossbow. You also can't build castles until Imperial Age, and your castles cost 300 extra wood, but are a little tougher than usual and fire higher damage rockets, so your mid-game defenses are a bit lacking, but late game you have some pretty satisfying explosions. As for landmarks, Feudal Age gives you an economy one that increases pop cap and heals units around it, or you can have a building that reveals specific points on the map and can spawn ninjas. For Castle Age, you choose between a religious landmark that works as a temple and boosts your warrior monks versus an economic landmark that gives you a way to essentially farm infinite gold from the safety of your base. In Imperial Age, you then have a choice between a landmark pumping up your daimyos, making them cheaper, versus another that works as a castle and reduces future castle costs by a third. So you have to decide if you want a more unit or fortification focus. Overall, it's a pretty straightforward civilization outside of the daimyo estates and market mechanics, though I also think the ceiling for the Civ is higher than regular Japanese if you can use those things to their potential. Next up, we have the Tughlaq Dynasty as a variant of the Delhi Sultanate. Some things here will be quite familiar, like infantry building walls and foraging bonuses at the expense of taking boar. Where the Civ radically departs is instead of Delhi's free techs that solely research, Tughlaq have 20% more expensive techs that research almost instantly. So at least in that regard, are almost the exact opposite. Instead of a tech focus, their main emphasis is then on elephants and forts. To start with elephants, they use worker elephants as a drop-off point and the place to research eco-techs, as elephants are of course very smart, and their ability to research is really underutilized by the other empires in the game. These don't take pop space, can move around with a woodline as it's used up, and can even garrison during a raid, with the downsides of being a little more expensive than usual, and also when you build one, they have to walk from the nearest town center or fort where they're trained, which takes a bit of extra time. Simplifying things a bit, you're then missing eco-techs for specific resources like a wood upgrade, and instead everything you drop off to an elephant or town center as the Civ give 5% more resources to start with, and you can use techs to get that up to plus 20%. As for their fort focus, they build a unique version of keeps, available as early as Feudal Age, and then individually upgrade those forts with governors. There are 6 of these to choose from, which can be assigned to an individual fort for free, giving either global benefits or something for that fort and the surrounding area. If you lose a fort, you can then reassign the governor to a different one, and for example, one of them lets your town centers work 15% faster, up to 50% faster if you upgrade that fort to level 3 through additional techs. So the governors give impactful bonuses, but it's about 1,500 stone per fort to get them to that level cap. As for units, you have quite a few of these standard ones, but then add in an extra elephant flavor. Your anti-archer horseman, for example, is replaced by a faster raider elephant, you have the war elephant as your heavy cavalry, the ballista elephant replacing the springold, and the healer elephant in addition to the regular imam. These have 2 riders who can then heal 2 nearby units at the same time. As for landmarks, in Feudal you can choose between pumping up your elephant attack speed or getting early access to healer elephants at a discount. In Castle Age, you choose between a building with a lot of extra techs you can research, and remember, you research them extra quickly, or a defensive landmark, reducing the stone cost of future buildings, making all those fort and governors cheaper to get up and running. In Imperial, the options are a building that immediately gives you a top-tier governor bonus, or some food and gold generated for each governor you have, so you can really see that emphasis on elephants early and governors late. They're classified as difficulty level 2, presumably because some of the governors and fort locations have aura effects that you have to anticipate. But the game plan of making elephants and having universal drop-off points that can move with your units keeps things out of the 3-star level. And finally, the 4th new variant is the Golden Horde, as a new spin on Mongols. In terms of overlap, they still have the Mongols' lack of houses, better traders, stables in Dark Age, and no castles. But what's new is they dropped the nomadic theme, having fixed buildings they can't move, they can research the Imperial Age, and their military units are trained in batches of 2. It sounds OP, but they cost twice as much and take double the training time until you get a tech later on. So it's only an advantage in the late game, and is actually a slight disadvantage early on, since you have to pay for 2 units up front and wait for both to train. Instead of a starting con unit, your scouts then all have the Scouting Falcon ability, so they still have great scouting early, just not with that one unit coming back over and over. For another small twist, instead of the pasture, they then have the stockyard, which is basically a farm for 4 units at once, and works as its own drop-off point, simplifying your economy in that respect. The OVU then works similar to usual, but you can build an extra one each time you age up. These generate your stone, which then works a little differently for Golden Horde than Mongols, as it's primarily used to buy units at the Golden Tent. This is your single landmark, similar to Abbasids, where your aging up happens here, essentially like researching technologies instead of building new landmarks. It can also create a unique con unit with a stone cost that buffs units around it, and you can also train bodyguards for them, which have a very unique effect of redirecting damage from the con to themselves. The Golden Tent also has an edict in the bottom row to give different bonuses, such as letting your outposts increase the work rate of military buildings around them as one example. Those outposts are then slightly beefier and called fortified outposts, costing a bit of stone in addition to wood, and don't have the regular Mongol bonus of faster movement speed around them. As for bonuses when aging up, your options at the Golden Tent for feudal are between reducing the cost and buffing up the con and bodyguards of that building versus free military buildings you can place to speed up your early rush. For Castle Age, you then have a choice between increasing heavy units armor and passive wood generation, or an extra OVU and better stone production. In Imperial Age, you can then either get a further stone discount on those special units and better stats, or free gold generation from fortified outposts. They're described as having an aggression, cavalry, and horde focus, and I can't disagree with any of that, and are considered 2-star difficulty. So those are the 4 new variant civilizations in broad strokes, but there's a bit more included in the DLC. First, there are 8 new maps, including the AoE2 classic Michi. New maps aren't necessarily something you'd buy a DLC for, but are always fun to try, and add a mix of choke pointy, very open, and different degrees of water play. More significant, and something worth talking about for a moment, is there is no campaign in the DLC. Sultan's Ascent had 8 missions, the most recent DLC, Knights of Cross and Rose, cut that down to 4 standalone historical missions, and this DLC walks away from historical single-player modes entirely. Instead, it adds a new Crucible game mode, which has a lot in common with the Gauntlet from Age of Mythology or roguelite games if you're familiar with those. And the basic idea is there are 4 maps, with all of them playing out as a Defend the Wonder scenario, where you win by surviving 25 minutes for bronze, 35 minutes for silver, and 45 for a gold medal. The twist is that while you're playing, you periodically have a choice of extra bonuses given to you, ranging from free resources to unit or building buffs, extra range on archers, that sort of thing. In between runs, you also get perk points you can spend to permanently give yourself advantages on all future runs. For example, starting with extra villagers, free buildings, stat buffs for units, on top of the ones you're randomly offered to choose between each run, combining a progression system with something random each time. The result is it's only 4 unique maps, but you can play them over and over on increasingly high difficulty settings as you turn whatever civ you're playing into a super-powered version. This is a whole gaming genre that's very popular, and while this and variant civs feel like they were probably motivated to be as efficient as possible with developer time and make the game cheaper to produce, I actually think this new mode is a huge success, as Crucible is way more fun than AoE4's campaigns, which I don't think were bad at all. There are even some objectives to accomplish around the map for extra advantages, forcing you to venture out instead of just turtling, so it's a well-implemented version of the idea, and is the highlight of the DLC for me. In terms of an overall review and if you should get it or not, it's hard for someone else to tell you. If you play multiplayer AoE4 a lot and are excited about new civs, then this is 4 new ones to play around with, and they all seem very strong. If you only do single player, I'd still say the Crucible gives at least as much as a typical AoE4 campaign for replayability, and if you really get into it, the ceiling for how long you can grind it out is very high. I also look at it as, do you want to support the game or not, as DLCs will let them keep servers running and continue periodic patching and balance changes, so of the $20, think of it as 10 going towards just keeping the game going. That'll do it for this one though, and while this is not the start of me covering AoE4 again regularly, I like to keep you guys in the loop about what else is going on in the franchise, and give my honest opinion of early access content when I get it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.